So the Woke NHS Tax is something I'm describing, which is the recent increase in national insurance. So this is the first link here. Breaking: Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid have agreed to raise national insurance by 1.25%. Yeah, so this is a payroll tax in the UK, for foreigners who don't know. So on your wages, and also for the employer has to pay this as well. So in reality, it's like 2% or whatever, because you pay 1%, they pay 1% as well.
And self-employed people have to pay it as well.
Yes, taxes on wages, fantastic. This is also, as John's pointing out here, a guarantee from the Conservative Party that they would not do this in their manifesto. So this is a manifesto breach as well.
Was that before COVID?
Yeah.
Right.
In the dark times before.
Yeah.
The long gone times. Anyway, so the reasoning for this, apparently, is to fund the NHS. So we go to the next one here. This is the story. Boris Johnson is expected to announce an extra $5.5 billion this year for the NHS.
Are they expecting another pandemic? Why do they need more money? Surely they need less money this year.
You'd think. I think so. I looked this up. The NHS has the way they display their funding is like a bar graph that slowly goes up over time, because it always does.
Yep.
And then they have an extra emergency fund, which is the COVID funding on top. So that's funded elsewhere. But the normal funding is funded by general taxation and national insurance put together.
Yeah.
And then charging foreigners who occasionally use it when they can charge them.
Yeah.
So the extra $5 billion is to fund the NHS going forwards, because apparently we need it. Just definitely need it. I'm not sure I trust them that they need this money.
You don't trust the government?
No, I think they could find some cuts elsewhere within the NHS specifically.
Well, I've seen some of the adverts that are being the job roles that are being advertised for diversity and inclusion officers. Which why would you need a diversity and inclusion officer in the NHS? Are you not going to treat someone because they're white? Are we going to apportion out medical care according to people's sexual preferences? I don't want to give them ideas.
They actually did almost do that, which is
really?
They announced, I think it was like a year or two ago, that they wouldn't treat people who they deemed to be racist. It was like, you're the government healthcare service for everyone in the UK.
How do you medically prove racism?
Like, you're a racist. You're going to die, son. Like, we're just not going to treat you.
Right.
Enjoy your gallbladder or whatever. But anyway,
Jeez.
So on a note of the diversity officers, as you're mentioning, what have they been up to? Well, here we have parody account to Tina McGrath enjoying a new post. This is a blog post from the NHS. Dear white people in the UK, I'm thinking about those cuts. I'm thinking about that money I'm being taxed to pay for this sort of thing immediately. But anyway, Tina McGrath says, even under the pressure of a global pandemic with waiting lists at an all-time high, it's a relief to see that the NHS is devoting time and resources to the important work of dismantling whiteness. Clap, clap, fist bump. Because, of course, this is what the NHS is up to with all those diversity positions.
Oh yeah, and this is classic critical race theory, because they've got you in a complete MMA hold. Like if you get upset at being called a racist, that means you're a racist. If you don't, if you accept that you're being called a racist, you're also a racist. There's no way out. And yeah, look at it. Don't be defensive. This isn't personal, and it's not about you. I mean, well, it kind of is if you're calling me a racist. Everybody is.
Well, don't worry. They're just calling you a white supremacist and part of whiteness. So that's totally not a racist. They swear. The State Health Service. They're the ones telling the public about this. Anyway, let's go to the full blog post, because this is real and still up, and you can go and read it in your own time. But let's go through some of it. So it's by Asin Benjamin, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Lead at Nursing and Midwifery Council. So this is a NHS employee who is employed to be in charge of equality, diversity and inclusion for midwifery.
Man, and the thing is, I know whenever I see whatever industry it is, whatever part of the public sector it is, if I see an equality, diversity and inclusion representative or lead, they're only looking at a certain type of inclusion and representation. There's never been an equality, diversity and inclusion lead who's made sure that there's enough Brexit voters represented on a panel. There's still certain sections of society that are sneered at and looked down on. And I don't think the equality, diversity and inclusion people are really doing anything to help those people or get them representation.
They're not part of the inclusion.
No,
they're part of the exclusion.
They're the wrong type of inclusion.
Yeah. So they say in here, first step, read the short essay White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh that visualizes a physical representation of privilege. So this is the initial essay that coined the term white privilege into the public consciousness, or let's say the diversity industry's consciousness.
All these essays and books like this is why I think
you mentioned critical race theory. I mean, she's one of them.
Yeah. Well, she's one of the sort of key people. Robin DiAngelo is, and she's white, of course.
Yes.
So she's a white person making money off other white people's white guilt. So, I mean, what could be a more exemplary example of whiteness than that?
I also wanted to mention that there's the Kemi Badenoch, who's the Undersecretary for Equalities in this country, the based one. She went in Parliament and said that if you teach these sort of things in schools as a teacher in a public school, you will be fired and you will be prosecuted because you're not allowed to do that sort of thing. You can't come to the school and teach Nazism, for example, because it's a highly contentious political issue, blah, 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 whatever terms you have to use. It's not education. No, this is indoctrination. And if Kemi Badenoch can say that about public-run schooling, I have to wonder about public-run healthcare. Should it be the role of nurses to educate you, indoctrinate you, about their critical race theory nonsense? And you mentioned Robin DiAngelo, so they continue. Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, Why It's Hard for White People to Talk About Racism, written by a white woman in the USA, captures a discussion that is often missing about where is whiteness for white people who often don't see themselves in racial terms. I mean, you mentioned it's the circular argument of, here, I'm going to complain about white fragility, and if you think that if you get mad at me calling you a racist, that's white fragility, therefore, point proven. And I'm absolutely right.
It's like 3D chess. They've got you in every direction. But I think woke people are more racist, are the most racist people. I remember when Black Lives Matter happened, all my woke friends on Instagram were posting, oh, here's 58 books I've bought on how to not be a racist. I think most people can not be a racist by just not being a racist. If you have to read 58 books to not be a racist, you've got to be open to the possibility you might be a bit racist.
But also, no one, like the idea of I'm so not a racist, I spend 15 hours a day reading racial texts. Rightio. But also the point there about she makes the...
It's like closeted gays in the 60s or whatever who'd be obsessed with it.
I'm so masculine, I swear. You're just gay, just come out. Anyway, so the point here being made as well, it's from the perspective of a white person for a country of white people who often don't see themselves in racial terms. Martin Luther King's dream. The fact that you would see yourself not in racial terms, but on a character basis. That's the complaint. Thank you. Thanks for admitting.
And people are even unpicking what Martin Luther King said, and his incredibly powerful message. I have a dream. That was based, rooted in classic liberal individualism, and people are unpicking that and saying, "Oh no, he didn't mean that, and this is what he really meant." And no, the message was so powerful because it was rooted in individualism, and I think we can all, that resonates with most people. We see ourselves as individuals. We don't want to judge or categorize or put people in boxes based on their their whatever demographics or sexuality or gender or whatever. But wokeists, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to put people in boxes and classify them and divide them according to those characteristics.
Like the collectivist left have no truck with individualism, so of course they hate Martin Luther King. Just going to skip over some of those points there that they raised for the sake of time, but the last one is the one that is most notable. Points for white people: be uncomfortable. Point number 5. Full stop. Just be uncomfortable, whitey.
Why?
Okay.
I don't want to be uncomfortable. I spend a lot of money trying to make myself comfortable through, chairs, alcohol. Why would I want to be... Nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
I love how we're paying for this as well.
We're
paying for this stupid woman.
Through your tax rise.
And we're going to have a tax rise specially to pay for this, because we can't just cut some of the stuff from the NHS. Of course not. That would be austerity. Even if we just cut the diversity budget for the NHS instead to 0. Anyway, so carrying on. So she says, for everyone, there are some quick reads that summarise for a UK audience how a poor understanding of history of race and what racism is. And then she lists some books, blah, 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 and then list to the bookstore. Go and check out these books that I'm totally not being paid to promote, I'm sure. And then she goes on for some more suggestions. She says you should go on a Black History walk or tour. Weird, okay. Also, in the UK, we have some established race equality think tanks, the Institute for Race Relations, the Runnymede Trust, and the Race Equality Foundation, some openly leftist race trusts that don't, as you said, see things through an individualist lens, entirely through a collectivist lens. That's why they had such a problem with the race report when it came up from the UK government. Yeah,
of course. And it's in their interest to exacerbate any racial issues in the UK, because the more there's social division and racial division, the more that they can make a fuss and get on TV and get funding for their work. The more they can say that their work's necessary. So I think this is a lot of the woke critical race theory is a self-perpetuating industry.
They're never going to tell you we've reached diversity.
Fire
me. I'm done. I'm out. Anyway, so they continue educating our children. We need to educate our children. Black history is British history, and I agree.
Yeah, nobody ever said it wasn't.
And that's the thing. That's why the question about a Black History walk or tour is like, look, that if Black history is British history, why do you need to segregate the history classes along lines of race?
Yeah.
You don't need to, do you?
And it's just encouraging, it's giving succor to any racists who might want to, just focus on white history. If you make it okay to just focus on Black history, then it's legitimizing white supremacists.
Why can't you?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. I think these people actually are when they have a guilty conscience. So she also mentions that there's a Black curriculum organization that is going to teach people about Black history and totally isn't going to be run by weird racial activists, I'm sure. She also has a call to action. Use your power and your privilege for the benefit of humanity. Everyone has some level of power or privilege at home, socially, or at work. Break the foundations of structural racism. Like, I'm just hearing someone just screeching. I remember there was a clip from the Labour Party conference. It was the last speech, and this tubby kid, like quite tubby kid, went up there, and you could see he's like 20 or something. And he grabbed the lectern and he screamed into the conference. What was it? Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. And it's like, you haven't worked a day in your life. It's like the change of structural racism. I don't know. He also did a salute, which he then quickly turned into a fist when he realised. But let's not talk about that.
It's like all the Corbynistas who are like, oh yeah, we need to open the coal mines again. Thatcher closed the coal mines. We need to open them. It's like they're going to be queuing up to work in go down the pit with their lattes and their MacBook Airs.
Go down there and breathe in the coal dust.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to the next one here. Just want to mention some smart shilling here. So the White Fragility book they mentioned from Robert DiAngelo. Carl went to the German Parliament and gave a speech as a guide for white fragility to understand what they're even talking about, because a lot of it has to be understood within their own paradigm. So just explaining that there. So go and give that a watch if you signed up. Good stuff. Anyway, I mentioned this was featured on GB News. So Andrew Doyle making the point about Robert DiAngelo's full of S, because her argument is, if you're upset about what I'm writing, you were racist, therefore point proven.
Yeah.
Totally right. There's also Chris Rose, who responded by saying that, imagine writing this about black people. Yeah. Dear black people of the UK, be uncomfortable. We're coming for you, the NHS. want to fund that more. But this lady, this isn't a one-off. So we go to the next one. She wrote another thing here, dear white people in the UK, an update for 2021, in which she whined about BLM, because I don't know what else she's going to do. And then tagging the Daily Mail and NHS leadership. You go to the next one. There's more from her. No evidence of structural racism in medicine. A full critique of the Saul Race Report by the BMA. Mentioned before, they're upset with the race report because it didn't find any racial discrimination in British society.
Yeah.
So they all freaked out about this whole thing.
Nightmare
No.
for them. That's the gravy train over if word actually gets out.
Yeah. The British Medical Association as well being a trade union. So not really anything official. But I don't want to take their word for this at all. I think they are deeply tied with the Labour Party, and therefore the leftist narrative on race, that there totally is structural racism on a collectivist basis, and the way to solve it is structural racism on a collectivist basis. Anyway, so she also wrote about BAME, so the term BAME, to BAME or not to BAME. I mean, again, just, stunning work, totally earning her salary here. I'm glad I'm paying for this. Just someone to sit around and talk about, what kind of word should be used to describe people with brown skin? You could just say people with brown skin if you want. No one gives a toss.
Well, and the word's going to change. It changes every few months. It's impossible to keep on top. And this is why wokeism is like a new caste system, because it's only the people with the resources and the time to read The Guardian every day and keep on top of what the new terminology is, because BAME will become problematic, and then it'll be replaced with that's
already happened.
BM. It's already happened.
Yeah.
See, there you go. It's because I don't have the resources to
I think to
keep on top of these terms.
The Guardian started using Yukma Gamur,
What?
which is totally more humanizing than
That sounds
BAME.
like a Finnish welcome.
Yeah, I think, what was it like? It was global minority heritage, minorities
Oh
of
my
ethnic origin. It
God.
was horrible,
Oh,
the term they used. Anyway, so they go to the next one.
God.
I mean, this is Kelvin making the point.
Ready
Ever
for-
wondered what your £75,000 worth of taxpayer money gets you? So this is a bunch of, as you mentioned, the job applications. We can
Yeah.
click on this image of heads of diversity and inclusion. Can you click on this image, John, to get it up? So you can see a whole bunch there. I think this was about £200,000 total, just wasted on this one screenshot
Yeah.
here for these positions. Well, that's what it gets you. It gets ladies like her telling you about to be uncomfortable because you're white, or
Yeah.
to BAME or not to BAME, or updates on George Floyd,
Yeah.
because the NHS really needs to talk about that.
Phil, my ex-girlfriend's going for, she's mixed race, and she's going for equality, diversity and inclusion roles. at the moment because they're so well paid.
Yeah.
They're so well paid.
Like, we used to laugh at the people getting gender studies degree, and now I'm like, crap. They pay more
Yeah,
than me.
they ended up running. But I mean, it is a racket. I mean, I used to work in the public sector. I work for various councils like Camden Council, Westminster, Haringey, all in London. And all these things. It's not just the diversity and inclusion people, but the HR departments are expanding the amount of power, and the HR department should really just be processing payroll. They shouldn't be doing anything more than that. And now they've got so much power, and they're expanding and sucking in all these resources and being completely unproductive. I know the public sector isn't famed for its productivity, but really the public sector needs to be trimmed down to just focus on actual practical, substantial work.
Well, I mean, we're being taxed to pay for this. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a tax increase coming in right now in the UK because we need to pay for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Can't possibly just make some cuts, could we?
Yeah, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Every council's got policy departments who are writing policy on everything from fly tipping to planning permission. And why does Camden need separate policy to Haringey? Their neighbour boroughs that are so close to each other.
And advise them on bathrooms and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
We have loads more, so we have to get through it. So the next one, if we can get it up, is Calvin finding yet another one. He mentions it's a racket. Here's another one, and it's some diversity officer saying absolutely horrible to see the abuse and hostility directed towards someone I worked with in my day for 3 years, and solidarity at the end of that drivel about how it's so horrible that she's being pointed out that she's wasting taxpayers' money with her job.
Pointed
not
out
her fault,
by
technically.
Emma, she, her.
Yeah.
Just in case there's any doubt as to what gender Emma.
Well, the way she describes herself, Regulatory Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Manager for Nursing and Midwifery Council. So it's not just one. They got two. It just at this council for midwifery.
So that's midwifery as well.
Same thing. She's literally just her colleague.
So as the baby comes out, she's literally checking it against a colour chart to see if it's infected with the inherent evil of whiteness.
You know that meme of like the one guy who's got the pickaxe who's digging up the road, and then 10 guys around him who are all like different departments who are doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, man, due to budget cuts, we're gonna have to fire the guy with the pickaxe. I mean, that's what's going on here. We can't raise the wages of the nurses. Why? Because we've got too many diversity inclusion officers hanging around. But if we go on to the next one here, the initial lady has said that she's going to report the abuse she's getting to the police, thanks to Kelvin. She personally DM'd Kelvin to call him a bad man for doing this. And I was like, I don't care. Go to hell. Like, you're getting paid so much money, I'm sure you can dry your eyes with the notes you have. But if we go to
this is another thing. People seem to assign responsibility for abuse that they receive to people other than the people who sent the abuse. It's like if she's received abuse, it's not Calvin's fault. Calvin's just pointing out some that any sort of journalist or broadcaster
she's like,
should be pointing
white people
out.
Be uncomfortable. Calvin says that exists. This is Calvin's fault for people being upset about it. So it's got nothing to do with what she wrote. Yeah, of course. But if we go to the next one here, I just googled how many trusts there are in the UK of NHS trusts. Apparently there's 223, and you got to think, you got to times that by the 75k for each just head of diversity.
Yeah.
Never mind apparently the second one you've got to have just in case it's a rainy day, and all the other underling staff and the entire program and all the rest of it. Yeah. If you just calculate that, it's 16 million pounds just in heads of diversity and inclusion for each trust in the UK.
16 million or billion?
16 mil.
Right. Oh, for diversity and inclusion.
Just for the heads, though.
Right, yeah. Oh,
so,
really?
Just for the heads.
Just for the heads.
Not to mention any of the other staff.
So they'll have departments underneath them. You know.
All the department funding which gets spent on, I don't know, painting rainbows across the floors of the hospital or something. But that's 16 mil right there. You could cut Conservatives instead of raising the taxes of the public.
Yep.
But no, how dare we actually do something Conservative and try and save the country? So it could be worse, as mentioned. If we go to the next one, you can see the BBC. I don't know if you remember this. June Sarprong. £267,000 a year for a 3-day work week with the BBC.
Man. How do I get on this gravy train? This is just insane. Is there still time for me to back out and renounce my right-wingness and my whiteness and become some sort of diversity rep?
I don't think you'll get anywhere near what she's earning, though. She's on the next level of grift, because you can see here the annual salary is, if she was working full-time, £445,000, which is more than the Director General of the BBC. Yeah. The head of diversity and inclusion is paid more than the guy in charge of the whole organisation.
And that's public money.
Yep.
I know. It's not a direct tax, but I mean the license fee basically is a tax.
When police stop knocking on people's doors for them not paying it, I'll stop calling it a tax then.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to them, they haven't knocked on my door in about 15 years. So.
What did you tell them? Anyway, so if we go to the next one here, I've just seen some of this, because this is the thing. This is why I like being on Twitter. I know a lot of people hate Twitter and think you should get off it. And I agree, generally. But It is a fantastic research tool for leftism because it's a leftist space.
Yeah.
So they literally post everything on there.
Yeah.
Like on their Twitter account, they will post everything about themselves, their political opinions, where they work, all the rest of it. And this is a great example of just the different accounts I found.
Well, yeah, and this is the Achilles heel of the left. This, as we saw with that, I don't know if you saw the teacher in, I think it was California, who he was covertly recorded, but he just told a reporter, everything that he was doing to indoctrinate the children in the schools, and he had the Antifa flag and the poster of Chairman Mao. A poster of Chairman Mao who killed 30 million, 40 million?
45 million is a conservative estimate.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well have, Hitler or Stalin or someone. It's horrific. Well, I'm surprised he didn't have Stalin.
I'm surprised he didn't have Hitler, to be honest. Anyway, but this is some guy who's excited to announce that he'll be joining the NHS as the head of diversity, equality and inclusion on the 13th of September. It's £75,000 down the drain, because if you can click on the second image here, you can see him talking about who wants to become an anti-racist. What do you have to do? 21-day challenge. What do you do on those 21 days? Read my propaganda. So it's just the typical stock nonsense, anti-racist baby, some Netflix series on white privilege. Dear white people, this is what we want you to do. Endless this stuff.
Anti-racist baby.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a book you meant to give the kids to indoctrinate them as well.
Oh my god.
Incredible. So we go to the next one. There's another diversity hire. I'm going to call them diversity hires because that's what they are. Another 75k donation to leftism from here. So this is a new guy who started.
Yeah.
Retweets Keir Starmer and Labour MPs, I found out, just from checking his account. I'm glad the Conservatives are funding this, because they are funding this. I mean, it makes sense that Tony Blair was the one who set all this up and started funding his own boys.
Yeah.
And because, governments are corrupt. Why are the Conservatives funding the opposition? Each one of these people would have to go and find a normal job.
Yeah.
And instead, they're getting paid over the odds.
Well, they could be just doing something, useful for society. They could be, stacking shelves at Asda instead of...
I don't care if it's not useful to society, as long as it's not my money.
As long as it's not actively destructive to society, which is what most equality, diversity and inclusion stuff seems to be.
But yeah, I think it can't be that bad. There can't be that many of these. Let's go through some. So let's go to the next one. So this is an account. I'm just going to read the descriptions, how they describe themselves. Head of Diversity and Inclusion at Samaritans, ex-NHS Health England, National Trust, she, her, Scouser, Own Views, BLM, Pride Flag Ally, Mum. Okay.
Do you think there's going to be one that doesn't have their pronouns listed?
Oh, let's have a game. Let's go to the next one. Director of Equality and Inclusion for NHS England and Improvement, also independent chair of Dorset Integrated Care System. My pronouns are she, her.
Thanks for telling us that your pronouns are she, her, Jenny.
Never would have guessed otherwise with that manly expression. Anyway, let's go to the next one. So, Head of Support and Transformation, Equality and Inclusion, NHS England and Improvement. I mean, again,
No pronouns!
No pronouns.
Oh my god!
Letting the side down.
Has to be fired, surely.
Yeah. But
it's illegal.
Again, I mean, just all I had to do was Google diversity and inclusion. You will find these people goddamn endlessly. Let's go to the next one. Equality, diversity and inclusion lead at Cambridge University Hospitals, NHS. Cisgender female, she, her, feminist mother. At least we got the pronouns again. Next one, if we get the next one up, Director, NHS Race and Health Observatory. Oh boy, no pronouns on this one. So
Race and Health Observatory. Is that has it got a big telescope that you can point at the population and see examples of racism?
What are the genitals? What is the melanin? Yeah. So we go to the next one. I'm pretty sure this is a joke account, but I can't really tell because it's got that difficult.
This is a joke account.
This is a joke account. All right, good. Because they say that their job is to try and follow every diversity officer in the NHS.
Yeah.
So far they've got 884. 884 diversity officers.
Yeah.
And I thought they're also followed by BAME Labour and Jess Phillips. That's amazing. They actually fell for it, didn't they?
This is the thing, the woke never, it's so hard for them to tell when they're being mocked, when they're being satirised, because they're self-satirising at this point.
Yeah, so you can see Pride Flag, Transgender Flag, Black Heart, Brown NHS Manager, Ally, her, she, racist views from my side of the concrete ceiling, and on to keep job, hashtag BLM, hashtag BAME over, hashtag NHS racism, hashtag snowy white peaks. Followed by BAME Labour. That's amazing. I didn't notice that. Oh, boy. Yeah, but I suppose we should be glad at least that all of these people who are sucking up all of our money is not as bad as some of the public sector ones. So we go to the next one. We have Google boots head of diversity and inclusion who said Jews have an insatiable appetite for war and killing.
Jeez. Unlucky, he was in a rush getting ready, so he's only put his he's gone halfway through putting his jumper on.
I suppose he's going out to do jihad after this or something. Just, the what is it, the El Jihadi look or whatever it is.
Well, this is what he's repeating here is it's a trope, it's a sort of myth about Israel. Israel's seen as this incredible aggressor in the Middle East, and if you actually look at the history of Israel, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not pro. I dated an Egyptian who's quite anti-Israel. I'm not particularly pro-Israel. I think it's a beacon of democracy and freedom in the Middle East, and it should be definitely allowed to exist. Which probably makes me an evil fascist in the eyes of most left-wing people.
I don't have much time left, so I didn't want to get into a huge thing about Israel.
Oh, right, yeah, well, I was just going to say, if you look at the 6 Day War, most leftists are completely unaware of all the countries round about Israel trying to wipe it off the map and then getting spanked by the Israeli army, against all odds. They think Israel just started everything.
Everything ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the public sector who has some views on the Jews. And, we also have some other public sector ones, so we go to the next one. Amazon Studios Executive Head of Diversity, Equality and Inclusion on the red carpet here, giving some speech about some movie. You don't usually get the HR people on the red carpet. You usually get the stars of the movie.
Yeah.
But no, this is the thing. They are a priest class.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is why she is of interest to these people, because she is the holy priest who gets paid way too much. And just to end on here as another example of why the NHS is awful in these regards and needs to be detoxified. It's not that the NHS is a bad institution in my view, but it utterly needs to be detoxified. And that doesn't mean increasing taxes, it means cutting people. So if we look through this, so this is a gender identity clinic whistleblower. She won damages for vilification of herself. So they said in the article, a whistleblower who claims she was vilified by an NHS gender identity clinic, Tavistock, after raising concerns about safety of children undergoing treatment, has been awarded £20,000 in damages.
Yeah, and it's a great result for her. I just thought it was this is quite an interesting story, because she said that the amount of gender transitions being done, this is quite a new phenomenon. Giving gender transitions, giving hormones and puberty blockers to so many children. The speed at which it's come about, and also the lack of open and free debate around it, or free discussion on a purely scientific and medical level. So she said, it could be like the Jimmy Savile case where nobody was allowed to discuss it at the BBC, so Savile was allowed to do horrific things, and when it came out, it was too late,
and she was vilified for that, and now she's won her money because she was right.
We'll see in 10-20 years time with the suicide rates, and with the amount of people who want to detransition. But I think she could be right.
But ultimately, my point there, we're all going to get taxed. What for? Funding this kind of crap. And in return, we can also go screw ourselves because the Conservatives can't be bothered to just detoxify the NHS.
Yeah.
Get on with it, for Christ's sake. I don't know what the point of them is anymore if they can't even do that. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to prelotuseaters.com and get access to all our premium content.
Things like our book club, where we examine classics like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and examine the themes that underpin it, and how we're getting worryingly close to that, or modern books like Mark Sidwell's The Long March, which is how exactly we ended up in the current cultural situation we're in and what Conservatives can do about it. Or you can check out the other series we have, such as our Contemplation series, where Hugo and Josh decided to, in the latest one, have a look at an examination on the ways that other elections have been rigged for no reason at all. Or you can check out our Epoch series, which is one of my personal favorites, because this is where I get to talk about history, and I love talking about just random things from history. And one of the great things we can do with this series is talk about those things that aren't so often discussed. So you can talk about Xerxes' army, the vast army that invaded Greece during the Greco-Persian Wars, or we can go through things like Herodotus' view on the Scythians. Who are they? You probably don't know, but they used to be quite an important people a long time ago, and they're very, very interesting. We've got some really good reports about them. Or we've got premium podcasts, which is things we generally don't want to put outside of the paywall because we might get in trouble for them, such as the list of things that Alex Jones was right about. Or we do just very interesting discussions because there are things that we do lots of work on. Another one is that I'm particularly proud of is where Christopher Hitchens, the famous new atheist, would have fallen during the modern culture wars. because he probably wouldn't have been very woke. But we also have lots of interviews and articles and other things on the website that you can sign up to enjoy, and we're really proud of them.
So if any of that sounds good to you, go over to lotuses.com and sign up for as little as £5 a month to support us, keep the show going, and also to get access to all the content. Thank you and goodbye.